a busy weekend this past weekend, and then a busy weekend this coming weekend. We'll start with what happened this past weekend with Bad Blood in Atlanta. And to help me break it all down, joining me on the hotline, my dear friend from One True Sports. He is the one, the only, Dominic DeAngelo. Dominic, how are you, man?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Always great to talk to you about all the ongoings that go on. But yeah, like you said, busy week, lots of news floating around when it comes to not just the PLEs and the pay-per-views, but just in general with wrestling. It's an exciting time to be a fan, and we're closing out the year here, and it's so wild to think of the trajectory that both these companies have taken in the past few years. So,
It really is. It really is. Let's start with Bad Blood. And as tradition, give me a letter grade for WWE Bad Blood.
who I'll give it man. I'll give it an A minus. I liked it a lot, Stu. I
Okay.
liked it a lot.
Was there anything in particular?
Oh yeah, definitely the CM Punk Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
I thought, it was. I got to talk about this on my other show, Rumor and Innuendo, with Robert Karpolis,
Mm.
and it was almost like a standalone kind of thing how they set it up. Because it opened the show,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had the other matches that were kind of almost like the calming aspect of it, not necessarily calming, but different kind of vibe. So it made it stand alone in itself, and I just thought they were guaranteeing us blood basically, and we got it. We got it big time. And so, uh, you know, and how those two told the story, they didn't do anything crazy athletic or anything wild. There's some crazy wild spots which were great, but it was just two guys that knew what they were doing in the ring, and I think the stakes that they built over the course of 11 months, where Punk couldn't wrestle for the majority of that time,
Mm-hmm.
is just it really speaks to the effort of Drew McIntyre, the talent of Drew McIntyre, who he knows who he is as a character, and then also Punk, just him being able to this trajectory that he's taken, the ride he's been taking on for better or for worse, when it comes to injuries, when it comes to being maligned in AEW, and now like how he's kind of rebuilding himself in WWE and trying to reestablish himself. So I think all those elements come into play, and in the landscape of a Hell in a Cell on a pay-per-view or a PLE that was named Bad Blood, that the original Hell in a Cell took place in, just a lot of cool aspects. And I think it was such a great blow-off match. And I think undoubtedly, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I really do believe CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre is a feud of 2024, and something that was really well done.
I definitely would put it up there. The Hell in a Cell match. It was everything you expected.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a little more bloody than expected. Probably, and I think part of that was the shot with the toolbox on Drew
Yep.
McIntyre, 16 staples. It sounds like we saw on Raw. Sounds like CM Punk maybe taking some time off. Which, hey, after that match, I think I would too.
Right.
Um, I do wonder what direction Drew McIntyre goes in with this loss. We've blown off the feud. Let's pray they don't come back.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
Um, where do you think Drew McIntyre goes next?
Boy, that's really tough, Stu, because obviously he wasn't on Raw, and he shouldn't have been, I don't think either. But it's like there's so many different routes you can kind of take. Has he been a heel long enough that you can turn him back? Like he's the wild thing about McIntyre is he was such a great heel and leaned into such aspects of being this mean, vindictive stuff, but still very relatable in a lot of ways, and like kind of conveyed that not just on WWE television, but what he would do through social media. He would have a lot of fun, poke the bear at Punk, uh, use fun memes and make fun references. But then even too, we saw building up to on that day of Hell or of Bad Blood, him sitting in his car and cutting a promo, basically a little go home promo. But he tied it into his personal life, where his not saying it outright, but implying, that his aunt passed away, recently, and he was dealing with personal stuff. And it's just like he's got that still that likability to him that people can really engage with. So I think the nice thing about McIntyre is he's established himself as a top star for WWE. So you could put him in that role as a babyface if you want to, but you can also continue this heel route and still continue that ride just with somebody else. So if I had to take a guess, Stu, I think they're going to stick with him on more of a heel route, but he goes up against a guy that he can really play off of. Maybe that's Jey Uso or something for an intercontinental title program or something like that. Or trying to think of somebody else that Sami Zayn you could have some fun with, I think, and establish a good feud there. Maybe you can poke the bear once again at Seth Rollins or something. Um, I wouldn't be necessarily against them making a trade from SmackDown to kind of get him in a new landscape with that. But I don't know where he would ultimately go. What do you think, Sue? Where do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. I think I think he probably needs to stay as a heel.
Mhm.
I I wouldn't be opposed to a trade to send him to SmackDown. But at the same time, I think he's got plenty of options on Raw. You mentioned Sami Zayn, you mentioned Jey Uso with the IC title. So yeah, I think I'm with you. I think it's just there are more options, and let's see what he can do. The rest of the card, I like the way you put it. The Hell in a Cell match felt like an event of its own.
Mhm.
And then you had the rest of the card, which was fine. Nia Jax held on to her title, defeating Bayley. Liv Morgan held on to her title via DQ. Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez comes back. Uh, and I'll be honest. So the reports are that was the finish to Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. Wasn't supposed to be a DQ. I think it works better
Mhm.
because now Rhea Ripley can still say she had never been pinned to lose the title that she had to give up because of injury. Uh, the Raquel Rodriguez thing, and I mean, it was fine for the on Bad Blood. Last night on Raw, though, it was. I mean, she basically she was their driver.
Right.
I'm going. That the best use of Raquel Rodriguez?
The
What did
wheelman,
you
the
think?
wheel woman.
Yeah, what did you think?
You know, I think there's certain things that you can say. I think the focus wasn't on Judgment Day and their stuff. So I guess in a roundabout way, I'm glad they kind of tipped the cap to, yay, Raquel Rodriguez did return. Here she is. Granted, it was in a role of, yeah, she's just behind a wheel driving Liv and Dom around now, but I think they have some work to do when it comes to Judgment Day overall because and like the Priest and Finn Balor match too, I thought was decent and like engaging enough. Nothing didn't like open up any wild doors or make anything feel big time or anything to that aspect of it all. But it's like you have to, and I think this is kind of a big problem for WWE going a concern for WWE moving forward with some of these factions. Is you have the Judgment Day, they don't feel that dangerous, do they? Right? Like
Not really. Except, I mean,
Priest
other than
swatted them all off like flies in that match,
yeah,
and handled them.
Finn and JD still had the tag titles. I'd like to see those defended once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's a lot that they need to do to kind of reestablish that faction if they're gonna continue running it like that. And I think about the same turn, and we'll talk about that, is like the bloodline too. I think they got some work to do with the new bloodline and making them feel dangerous too. It's a problem that you have your big established baby faces, but do you have big enough heels and big enough dragons for them to slay? Ultimately, is I
Yeah.
think a concern, and I think part of that is with Judgment Day as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about the bloodline. We had Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns defeat Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Jimmy Uso returns, helps out Roman. And then Roman and Jimmy save Cody from the beatdown. And then here comes The Rock.
Mhm.
And I guess maybe I'm just getting a little more cynical in my old age. I'm like, really, they get The Rock there for a pop. the the sense would be that he is the man behind Solo and Jacob.
Yes, that's what I would think.
Now, I suppose it's gonna be a while before we get that confirmed. I don't think he's gonna be on SmackDown this
No,
Friday.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
As far as reestablishing the quote new bloodline, what do you think it would take? For me, it seems like they don't have much to do. It would be, come out, wreck shop, whatever. But I think they could do that pretty easily and then reestablish them as a strong faction and then have that, I guess, have that play out and, at least until Royal Rumble and maybe even Mania.
Yeah, that now I do think that you can kind of heat them up for sure. I don't know if you can get them back to the dangerous feel that they had when, they were backstabbing Paul Heyman and backstabbing Jimmy Uso and then feeling like this chaotic, like, oh my God, this is a worse bloodline. This is like a corrupt bloodline, and bloodline was already corrupt, with what Roman had. Like, I don't think you're gonna get that very big feel identity back because in certain regards, especially particularly when it comes to Solo Sikoa as the leader of it, because we've seen him lose several times to Cody Rhodes, cage match, SummerSlam, now in this tag match here. And I do think you can heat them back up in a little bit of a way because Jacob Fatu is such a big star, and you can really put the spotlight on him. And then I think it's almost inevitable that we'll probably see maybe Hikuleo show up or something and represent them, and then boom, that packs a punch for them a little bit. I do not think that they have a chance to get back to where they were because it's just how are you going to make them feel like a big deal when we've seen these guys lose constantly? Like Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa just kind of swatted off, and aren't they the tag team champs too for
Yes.
SmackDown?
Yeah.
So it's like they're swatted off, they're forgotten about, like they're easily handled. Solo Sikoa has been easily handled, so I do not think that they're going to be that threat that I would initially felt them going in. Like these guys are a big deal, and so I do think you can heat them back up in certain ways where it's like, hey, you can have a great Survivor Series bloodline battle or something like that going down. But to get to the point where they were, I don't think that's in the cards, maybe.
Yeah. I think I mean I yeah, it's going to take a little work, but I think there's a possibility. Um AJ Styles returns on SmackDown
Mm-hmm.
and then gets injured again. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's out. At least the reports are it is a legit. It's his ankle. I mean, and I feel for the guy because AJ Styles has been one of the best for so long. Is it? I mean, is this just a case of just really bad luck, or is there something else?
Yeah, it's a case of just bad, unfortunate circumstances. I think the intent was he was something of an angle was supposed to happen where he got hurt, but then he actually got hurt from how reports are sounding. Because like the initial report from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful was that hey, this was planned, like the
Yeah.
injury was planned and AJ's actually fine. Well, then we hear the conflicting report that Meltzer said no, this is legitimate and things like that coming into play, and then.
Yeah, I think the work injury was supposed to be his knee,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then he did legit injure his ankle. So
Yes.
now hopefully it's not too serious. And I haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything about it?
I have not heard anything. I have not been super in tune with the news cycle today, but after this afternoon, so I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything in regards to that. But yeah, hopefully for AJ, it's just like, man, it's not long, and maybe it's something that he can bounce back from relatively quickly. You wonder too. I don't think he signed a new deal or anything like that when it comes to WWE. And how much would this injury really come into play for maybe him sticking around there? Or would he be enticed to go to AEW or something like that, where it's just like, will this injury that happened change the trajectory of maybe the plan? Because it looked like, hey, he's back in the WWE fold here. They got plans for him. He's moving forward, whether that's with Carmelo Hayes or LA Knight or somebody. Now that might not happen if he's injured on it. And will this change the trajectory of AJ Styles, what we see moving forward?
Or could he go back to TNA?
That too, there's
You know,
options for him,
I mean, I'm sure. I think I heard TNA is going to bring back their Hall of Fame, and he belongs in it. So,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
uh, Braun Breaker. We had the brief looking like a baby face turn, and then he comes back and spears everybody, and we're back to Braun Breaker.
We're back to, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it, were you? Would you have ever believed him as a baby face?
Gosh, I mean, he's got such an engagement with the fans, like the barking and all that stuff. And it's just like fans really do like him. I like him a lot too. But it's also like, uh, I think that would have been an uphill battle to kind of convey him as a baby face at this juncture, where it's just like, and almost quick to pull the trigger, I think, on it. I think continue this momentum of him being this destructive heel and just unpredictable and stuff like that. You can certainly find a position for him as a heel on the Raw roster. Or whether like you have him going up against established acts like a Sheamus who's been winning, and or yeah, I mean, even now that Ilya Dragunov thing, any matchup they have, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but any matchup those guys have, it always feels like a fresh matchup to me because they're just so good together.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
now Ilya is going to be out for a while with was it
oh,
ACL?
is he
I
hurt?
think. Yeah, he's hurt.
Oh,
I want to
okay,
say it's
okay.
ACL, but I could be wrong.
Dang
But
it.
he's going to be. But yeah, when he does come back, yeah, just fire that feud back up. Absolutely.
Right.
So,
There's,
go ahead.
yeah, no, I think with Braun, it's like you can put him up against somebody like trying to think who would be like a Seth Rollins would be great, I think, really furthers and builds him up. I mean, obviously Seth is going to be going up against Braun Strowman at some juncture, but you get him involved in something like that, I think that could be a lot of fun too. You could have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's
Gunther defeated Sami Zayn to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. There was a couple of. Did, let me ask you two part. First of all, did you think Sami Zayn could beat Gunther?
well, a little bit in the back of my head, I'm like, it could be a possibility, but I certainly didn't think. I didn't think it was going to happen. Where it was just like he was going to get the win, and
It
you know,
was they made it. They made you feel like maybe there was a shot. It was a possibility, but yeah. Uh, Give me your thoughts on this crown jewel championship. You're going to have the WWE champion take on the world champion, both men and women. Is this just give me your thoughts on uh what they're doing with this?
I think it's feigning something big for Saudi Arabia. It's not really that. It's not a big deal. Like it's a title. We've seen this before. Where it comes to like,
The
hey, we got
greatest Royal
big,
Rumble.
greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Here's this
they won the belt,
championship.
and then we've never seen the belt
Never seen it
since.
again. And so, you know, when it ever comes to these Saudi Arabia shows, there's always a sour taste in people's mouths for understandable reasons. And it's also like, and it almost feels like, and my co-host Robert put it in a way, it's like out of this universe, out of the WWE universe kind of event. It feels like where it doesn't really take place in the canon of WWE. Sometimes it feels like, um, but I think it's a clever way for them to make this Saudi show feel like a big deal to appease Saudi Arabia. But in the same turn, it's like you're also kind of uh souring a cool matchup that would be like somebody like Cody Rhodes and Gunther down the line, where it's just like, you have these guys going at it, but it's also this we've seen this song and dance before where it's champion versus champion, the night of champions stuff, and like there's really no stakes. Yeah, that title's big and gaudy and whatever, but does anybody really care? There's no anything behind it.
I
So
agree. I agree. I think it's like you said, they're Saudi's paying a whole lot of money. They decided to create this belt so that we can have a couple of, you know, champion versus champion matches and make it sound like something big. And then 2 weeks afterwards, yeah, we'll all forget about it. So
I think Stu if I were WWE, there would be something that I would do where it's just like, you know what? In a way, we can kind of make Saudi feel special by maybe positioning a new star and getting a new star over and build to these Saudi shows. And then you present that person in such a big way that they feel like a big deal. And then there is some significance there. Now, I understandably you have to have somebody like a big name there, maybe in a main event picture like a Cody Rhodes or somebody, or maybe you get Goldberg or somebody like that, But it's if you instead of having these fake titles or these big stakes that are not really big stakes, establish a new star and make that event. Hey, that was the show that we got tied on to. I'm just gonna throw somebody out there. Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah.
That was Carmelo Hayes' big breakout show.
Well,
Something to that effect would be a neat way to handle Saudi Arabia shows, I think.
it would be. I mean, I think most of us that have followed and covered wrestling for a long time understand the Saudi shows are basically glorified house shows.
That's it.
That's all they
Exactly.
are. It's Saudi's giving them a bunch of money, so they're going to put on this big extravaganza and make it look pretty, and then it usually gets in the way of the booking, the build towards Survivor Series or whatever. So I get it.
You're right.
I get it.
It's a bitter pill to swallow, but you got to swallow it.
It is. It is. Let's switch gears. AEW. Before we get to WrestleDream,
Yeah.
first of all, I want to since I did the show last week, we have gotten an update on the media rights deal. It is still 3 years with an option for a fourth. We now know, or at least the reports are a little more in sync in the fact $185 million per year. We know Dynamite Collision will stay on TBS and TNT respectively. Rampage apparently is going away. Uh, the pay-per-views will end up on Max at a discounted price, so they're not just giving them away like WWE does on Peacock. Give me your thoughts on AEW getting this new media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah, I think if I were to give it like a percentage level of like, hey, job well done. Like if I were to grade AEW on what the ultimate outcome was, I'd give it probably like an 85%. Like it's great, and I think it benefits wrestling overall. Anything that you see with when it comes to like a television deal and wrestling being relevant, it's good that we have two companies. Now, one's on a higher level. Now, it's a clear, distinct level between WWE and AEW, but they're still up there. And it's still like a mainstream thing, and you're getting eyes on a product. You're creating places for wrestlers to compete for. And I think that is such a huge benefit of it all. Now, obviously, like when it comes to like the layout of what they're doing when it comes to, hey, 3-year deal and the option for the fourth, you really have to put the onus really has to go on Tony Khan now to like make that fourth year option happen and make it feel. And I don't think if they're staying the course that they continue to stay at, where the booking and creative decisions have been the way they've been going, I don't know if they're necessarily going to get that coming out ultimately. Like they should really be mindful of all this stuff and like put their best foot forward when it comes to aspects of these things. And then you think about the aspect of, hey, yeah, you're getting a pay-per-view on Max, but it's at a discounted price. You're not getting it the same way. So the fans have to make that added effort to purchase the show, watch it, and that's how you introduce new fans. So I think that they do have the benefit, though, I believe too, right, Stu? Correct me if I'm wrong, but Dynamite and Collision will also air on Max after the fact. Is that
Yes.
true?
Yeah, those will be on there. I think they'll stream simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
Yeah.
So
So it'll
that's
be
probably a good
PBS
thing.
and Max.
I'll boost it up from an 85 to a 90% now. So
Yeah.
I think that adds a really good element for them. But I think again that 10% that's missing from them, the onus is going with Tony Khan and him making this a consistent great product that grows. This is your opportunity to make it grow, not stand put or stay the course. You want this to grow, and here's your opportunity to do it. So the legwork's got to be done with this.
Right.
And
The
I'm
one thing that the one thing doesn't need to grow is their roster.
That's it.
They got enough.
Exactly.
They've got enough
You got
talent.
plenty of that. Plenty of that. You want to hone
Absolutely.
it in. I hone it in on it. I think they're this too for sure.
I want to ask you. So last week on Dynamite, and by Dynamite's on tonight
Yep.
because you got Yankees Royals tomorrow night on TBS. Uh, Last week on Dynamite, Moxley comes out. They're about to beat up Bryan Danielson, and he says something to the effect of "Is as this is bigger than me, uh, I'm doing this because I have to." So it kind of alludes that there is someone at the control.
Yep. Yep.
If give me your your thought on who is in control of the BCC now.
It's got to be Shane McMahon. I think. I think
God,
there's.
I hope not.
It's no other option. I would say,
I
Stu.
know, but I hope not. I mean,
Look, I understand. There's people like have this attachment to Shane where he kind of feels like a big deal, and obviously the name goes into play. I think at this juncture, yeah, if Tony Khan were to, hey, I got Shane McMahon in the mix and he's running this whole thing, this indirectly elevates AEW, even if it's on a fake pedestal of it all, because it's just like, hey, that's a McMahon and he's over here now. So for that simple reason, I think that makes sense. Now, what are you going to do to make this all make sense and make this an engaging storyline? Because I think, obviously this is a heel faction that is really, going after Darby Allin, going after Bryan Danielson, really having their targets set for people. But hey, don't you also have this top heel faction going on right now called the Elite, where the Bucks are also these corrupt EVPs going up and making their own decisions? It's like, where is this all coming into play at here? Like, who are we really supposed to be rooting for besides a Bryan Danielson and besides a Darby Allin? Because these two factions here, there's everybody in power seems to be pretty darn corrupt. I
yeah.
don't know.
Well, and that's what I was saying that a couple of weeks ago. It's like, hold it, you okay? You got Moxley who wants to basically take over AEW because it's
Yeah.
broken. You got the Elite who are trying to take over AEW. It's like, okay, hold on. I don't think we can have both factions trying to take over unless they're going to face each other. And we all know heel versus heel is not the best matchup. So
No, does not work, Stu. Does not work. It's
and I get the splash. I get the notion of if it is Shane, it makes a splash, it makes headlines, puts eyeballs. I get it. And I think I would be okay with it if he does not get in the ring.
I agree. Yes,
Not
I'm with
have
you
don't
100% on that.
don't I wouldn't even have him throw a fake punch.
No. Oh, he's the worst
Yeah,
puncturer
yeah,
there is.
yeah. It's just let him be. If he's going to be there, let him be a mouthpiece. Do not let him get physical.
No,
We don't need that.
I'm with you, Stu. 100% I'm with you on that. I
So
think you can make it him feel valuable by not having him in the ring at all.
yeah.
Mhm.
So WrestleDream this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Get it on pay-per-view on Triller TV and PPV.com and all the other platforms. It'll be at the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma,
Ooh.
Washington. Of course, the main event, Bryan Danielson defending the AEW World Title against Jon Moxley. Mox is winning the title, right?
I would kind of lean to I guess so, Stu, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit, because you're just
You're,
thinking really from like outcome of a storyline. You
yeah,
have to have John Moxley come out hot and be the champion if you're trying to establish this big angle you have going on. Because
exactly.
if Danielson beats him, okay, well he John's a loser, and now he's got this huge faction that he's got to run it now too and make it feel like a big deal. So yeah, I think definitely. I think this will signify the end of Danielson's full-time career,
Yes.
and stories will develop from this moving forward when it
Yeah.
comes to everything.
Plus, Danielson will retire in his home state.
Hmm.
But you're right. Yeah, the big thing would be, you need Mox coming out strong. So that's the way to do it, to have him win the world title. Um, And yes, full time career will be over, but yes, does sound like he could be called on for some spot duty as needed. We've got the triple threat match for the international championship: Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Konosuke Takeshita. It feels like Takeshita could win this one.
Yeah, yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I'm also on board with it being maybe a way for Ricochet to win the championship too. I don't think Osprey has much of a chance to retain on this one, and I don't think he should, to be honest. It's like if you're trying, he's already established. I think in a lot of ways, Osprey is Teflon at this juncture when it comes to things because you want to make Ricochet certainly feel like a really, really big deal because you just signed him and you paid a lot of money for him. And so him getting the title would make it feel like a big deal. But also Takeshita is like one of your growing stars and, somebody that will basically be known as a homegrown talent for AEW. So him to win the title, I think wouldn't hurt either Ricochet or Osprey. So I could definitely see that. I'm sick of all these titles though, Stu. I want
I,
to I can't wait
there are
for
too
next
many
year
belts.
when they have AEW consolidation. That's going to be my favorite pay-per-view.
Yes, they
Where
have
they
too
get
many
all
belts.
these belts merged together. That's what I want to have happen.
Couldn't agree more. Now, and yes, take advantage of Takeshita and his strong showing in the G1. And yeah, let's put that title on him and let's see what happens. There's going to be some sort of storyline with Don Callis, who apparently is now trying to recruit Lance Archer.
Yep,
So
yep.
hey, we'll see. Young Bucks defending the tag titles against Private Party. I love Private Party. They're not coming out here with the belts.
I don't think so.
It's not. And they're going to play up that whole, Private Party beat the Young Bucks in the first round of the tournament to crown tag team champions. They're going to play that up, just kind of like what they did with Sami Zayn and Gunther. But yeah, I think the Bucks, if only to continue their rise to power, so to speak, with the elite. There, I don't see Private Party winning the titles. Do you?
I think there's a chance, but I also don't. From the track record that AEW has laid out when it comes to building some feuds and everything like that, it seems like they try to heat acts up as best they can, even though I don't agree with how they do it most times. They try to do it as best they can, and then boom, they have the match. It's over, done with. Okay, on to the next one. And that's kind of the vibe I get a lot with some of this stuff. Now, I would certainly be all for them winning the championships just so it shows that there's a concerted effort to kind of reestablish some tag teams in the AEW division of all overall. So I'd be all for Private Party winning this match, but I can definitely lean on the side of, hey, the Young Bucks are going to retain, and this was just like a night for them to slay instead of them being the dragon. Private Party's the knight in that
Yeah,
aspect.
I think you're right. Jack Perry defending the TNT title against Shibata. This is the one. This is one. If only because and maybe it's just because of my fondness for Katsuyori Shibata. This one feels like there is a chance. Now, again, I think that if, and again, they got to figure this out with the whole elite and BCC. But if you want the elite to stay strong, well, that means you got to keep titles around all four of them, which means
Mhm.
Jack Perry comes out still the TNT champion. But I think Shibata's got a chance.
Yeah, I think I like Shibata a lot too, and I'm very new to him to be honest. So, like the kind of fun personality he's been able to show on AEW, it's really attracted me to him as a talent and everything like that. I love the cell phone gimmick and
Yeah.
translating through all that kind of stuff. I think
Learning the Iron Claw from Kevin Von Erich. That
that's fantastic
maybe
stuff.
and maybe that's the
Maybe that
thing.
might be it, huh?
That might be it. Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one too, Stu. I think I do not see. I don't think he's gonna win this one. I do think yet to what you were saying. I think you have to keep the elite hot and have everybody have the titles. And I think that will add to whatever storyline they're going to be doing here with the Elite and this BCC thing going down. So I think if everybody has a title, it just makes more sense. Plus, I think it's only benefits Perry to retain and have these defenses, successful defenses for him going moving forward. If you're
Yeah.
trying to build him as a bigger star.
I think you're right. You can't have him as just the extra in the end.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you can't have him be the scapegoat, so to speak, on that one.
Mark Briscoe defending the Ring of Honor World title against Chris Jericho. Jericho has won the Ring of Honor World title before.
Yep.
I think Mark will retain if for no other reason. You want him, you got Final Battle coming up in December. You need to have him defend it on that show, which would be a good reason for him not to drop that title at WrestleDream.
Yeah, I could see this going either way. I do like because to what you're saying, I think if Jericho won this match, he kind of made a little hint at the new name, the Nueve, which I thought was very. I enjoyed that. I don't know, I liked it, but I think you can have if he beats him here, you can culminate a feud further with those two and have Mark win it back at Final Battle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an option that they can do. So I'll just push differently on that one and say that Jericho.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. Darby Allin's going to face Brody King. Good Lord. I mean, if there was that's kind of like Rey Mysterio and Kevin Nash back in the day.
Right?
I
Listen,
mean,
I love this matchup. I do. But the funny aspect is, so I was in Pittsburgh for that show, like for Dynamite last week.
okay.
And sure enough, like Darby makes that open challenge. I'm like, oh, I wonder who it will be. We'll probably figure out next week who it's going to be. Well, somehow, I guess it happened on a collision, but somehow it's Brody King's doing it. And I'm like, okay, came out of nowhere kind of thing. Unexpected. Not that I'm against these two because I love both these guys. So
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a fun match for sure, Stu. No
it will
doubt.
be. It will be a fun match. I just, you just hopefully it's better than just Brody King ragdolling him, from pillar to post.
Yeah, yeah.
We do know Mariah May will defend the women's world title. It's going to be, well, later tonight. It's going to
Mhm.
be Britt Baker. Actually, no, Britt Baker's ill.
Is
So
she?
yes, I just saw it on the news feed. Britt
Oh,
Baker's not at Dynamite because she's ill. So I'm wondering if they will substitute somebody. It was supposed to be Willow Nightingale versus Britt Baker. Winner gets Mariah May at WrestleDream. So I'm wondering if they substitute somebody, assuming maybe they were going to originally have Willow going over on that one, or if they were
yeah.
going to do a triple threat, which that's a distinct possibility. I think either way, it feels like, yeah, they're not done with Mariah May as the world champion yet.
No way. I would be totally against them switching the titles off of her already because she's such a new act and she's so good at what she does. Like it's just like she's beautiful. She's got that element, that's fatal attraction element about her where it's like this another level of monster psychopath kind of thing. And
Mm.
I think that's such a unique character to have. You have a viable star in who she is. I gotta say though, I think Willow Nightingale is such a huge baby face for them, and has got a lot of that ceiling still very much up for her moving forward. So I would like to see her somehow just get shorted. I would love to see the Mariah May win by underhand means of some sort. Uh, because I think you can further this feud and make this a really good feud for the women's division, Willow versus Mariah May moving forward. So I hope this is just the tip of the iceberg with these two. There just needs to be a lot more attention to detail when it comes to the women's division because it's just like you have all these elements of stars from a Tony Storm to Mariah May to Willow to Thunder Rosa, who's hurt right now, to like a lot of good names coming into the mix. But I don't really think they put the proper attention on a lot of these gals, and that's an issue I think with AEW and has been pretty consistently. So.
It is, and that's, yeah, that's definitely something that's going to have to be addressed if that's part of what they'll, use that new money for. We'll see. I would like to see more attention on the women's division. That's AEW WrestleDream this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Get it on pay-per-view from the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington. He is Dominic DeAngelo. Catch him with One True Sport, Rumor Innuendo podcast. How many podcasts are you doing now?
I do a lot, right,
I was
Stu?
gonna say, because you got the one with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne.
Yep.
Yeah, you're doing the one with
RVD.
Yeah,
Yep. RVD every Monday, 4:20
and
p.m.
where else?
So yeah, then I do Rumored Innuendo. I also help out with Kevin Nash's podcast. I do social media for him. I help produce the Matt Camp show, which is
Okay.
the Matt event, and that's a daily wrestling show. So I do that as well. I think I'm a part. Oh, me and Fonzie, Bill Alfonso, do a show
Yeah,
together, and so
I got to know Bill Alfonso at Colorful Alley Club. He's a great guy.
great. Didn't he get like the biggest pop out of
He
anybody? I
did.
think
That
he
was
did,
that was
didn't
really
he?
cool. Yeah.
It was really cool. And Stu, I'm not gonna lie. I like when they were introducing him and like he got that ovation, and then oh my gosh, Dave, his friend Dave, who's the Cuban assassin,
Yeah.
I got emotional. I got pretty emotional almost.
Yeah.
So
It was
yeah,
really cool. Really
it was
cool. Dom, I appreciate it, man. All the best to you. Let's talk. We'll talk again soon.
absolutely. Thank you, Stu. Always a pleasure, my friend.